The air in Willow Creek, Alabama, was thick with the scent of fried okra and honeysuckle, a sticky August evening that clung to your skin like a second layer. I stood in the back of the VFW hall, my heels catching on the warped linoleum, the hum of a window unit air conditioner barely cutting through the heat. Through the slatted pass-through window of the kitchen, I watched my son, Caleb, marry his high school sweetheart, Lauren, under a canopy of mason jar lanterns strung with fairy lights, magnolia blooms spilling over every table. I'd paid for it all, $12,000 for the venue, $3,500 for her dress, $800 for the monogram napkins stacked beside the shrimp and grits bar. My savings, scraped together from years of night shifts at the county hospital, had built this day. But when the fiddles struck up and the toast began, I wasn't at the head table, wasn't even in the room. I was here, tucked behind a tower of dirty plates, my navy sundress damp with sweat, a paper plate of cold collards wilting in my lap. No one had invited me to sit with the family. No one had even looked my way. I forced a smile, swallowed the ache in my throat, and when the last slice of pecan pie was served, I made one phone call that unraveled it all. If this story finds you, share where you're reading from. I'd love to know your corner of the world. My place was a metal folding chair by the kitchen swinging door, a sticky spot of barbecue sauce under my sandal. The air was heavy with grease, the tang of onion gravy seeping into my hair, my skin, my memory. I'd spent the morning at Miss Ruby's salon, 3 hours under the dryer for a soft updo. My nails painted a gentle coral to match the dress I'd sewn myself. Cotton, simple, with a hem that swayed just above my knees. I'd pictured this day for years, imagined standing beside Caleb as he stepped into his future, my heart swelling with pride. I thought I'd feel like I belonged, that my sacrifices, every double shift, every missed vacation, every birthday cake baked at 2 a.m. would mean something. But no one had warned me. No one said, "Lynn, we've got a different spot for you." Not Caleb, not Lauren, not even her mother, Diane, who'd kissed my son's cheek like she'd raised him through fevers, broken bikes, and algebra homework. I clutched my purse, a faded leather clutch Caleb gave me for my 50th birthday, back when he still called me Mama, and drew me cards with crayons, stick figures of us holding hands under a lopsided sun. My hands trembled, a faint buzz like a wasp trapped under my skin, vibrating through my wrists. The catering manager, a kid in a too big polo shirt named Tyler, shuffled over, avoiding my eyes. "Ma'am, they said you're supposed to stay back here. The bride wanted, well, it's about the vibe, you know?" For the photos, I stared at him, my breath catching. "Vibe?" He flinched as the kitchen door slammed open, letting in a burst of laughter and the twang of a banjo playing Sweet Home Alabama. "It's about the aesthetic," he mumbled, then scurried off, balancing a tray of hush puppies. I sat, the chair groaning under me. A smudge of mustard stained the floor, my shoes sticking when I shifted. I looked at my nails, then at the congealed hush puppy someone had left on my plate, a sad lump beside a smear of remoulade. The worst part? I didn't say a word. I told myself, don't ruin Caleb's day. Don't be that mother. I'd paid for it all. The string quartet, the bourbon bar, the custom happily ever after sign in curly script glowing neon above the dance floor. I thought it meant I'd have a place, a seat, a moment where I'd be seen. I was wrong. The program, glossy with gold foil, listed Lauren's father, Greg, walking her down the aisle, Diane giving the first toast. My name? Nowhere. Not in the thank you section, not as the mother of the groom, not even in the fine print. I was the bankroll, the shadow, the woman no one wanted in the frame. The door swung again, and I caught a glimpse of the dance floor, Twinkle lights, Caleb and Lauren spinning the wagon wheel, his grin wide, her veil catching the glow like a halo. He didn't look my way, not once. I pressed a napkin to my lips, pretending to wipe a non-existent smudge. My eyes stung, but I blamed the onions, the heat, anything but the truth. I'd been erased, edited out of my own son's story. Something inside me cracked, quiet as a twig underfoot, a hairline fracture in glass you don't notice until it shatters. I stared at a chipped tile by the fire exit, my anchor, the only thing keeping me from unraveling in front of a kid carrying a tray of deviled eggs. I breathed deep, the air heavy with grease and betrayal. Then came dessert, banana pudding, her favorite, not mine, served in little mason jars with gingham ribbons. I didn't touch it, just stared at the creamy layers, the perfect dollop of whipped cream, her vision, her day, her world. And then I made the call. I stepped outside, the Alabama night thick with crickets and the faint burn of citronella torches. My phone was heavy in my hand, the screen glowing in the dark. 3 cancellations, the brunch florals, the band's second set, the open bar's final hour. My voice was steady, like I was ordering groceries at the Piggly Wiggly. Yes, this is Lynn Harper. Please cancel the Sunday delivery. No, no refund needed. Thank you to the band. We won't require the late night set. Consider the contract closed. To the bar. Shut it down at 10 p.m. No second shift. Polite, professional, final. When I hung up, I didn't feel guilt, didn't feel regret. I felt a spark, a flicker of something I hadn't known since I was 20, sneaking beers by the creek with my high school friends. Control. Back inside, the music pulsed, the dance floor alive with boots stomping to Copperhead Road. I sat in my folding chair, a warm Coke from the catering cooler in my hand, and tried not to listen. But every laugh, every cheer, every clinking mason jar sliced deeper, a reminder of my place, or lack of it. I heard Diane's voice through the pass-through, syrupy and smug. Caleb, you're the son we always wanted. Cheers followed, glasses raised. My heart sank. Diane, in her sequined dress, hadn't thanked me once, hadn't even looked at me. Greg, a car salesman with a politician's grin, boomed about, welcoming Caleb to the family. As if I hadn't raised him alone, working night shifts in scrubs, stitching his Halloween costumes, driving him to football practice on bald tires. Caleb's speech was the final blow. The mic squealed, then his voice, deeper now, polished, like he'd rehearsed in front of a mirror. I'm so grateful for Lauren's family, for making me feel like I belong. To everyone who made this day possible, thank you. This is the best day of my life. My name, absent. I'd paid for the suit he wore, the boots he danced in, the ring on her finger. I'd paid for the neon sign, the photographer, the DJ spinning Alabama, and Luke Bryan. But I didn't exist. The servers clapped, their hands muffled by dish towels. I didn't move. The band kicked into Dixieland Delight, and the room erupted. I stayed still, my heart a lump of something rotten, heavy in my chest. I waited until the last bite of dessert was served, until people were loosening their ties, wiping icing from their lips. The music hitting that perfect peak. Then I walked out, past the smokers by the back door, past the kids sneaking sips of whiskey in the parking lot, into the sticky night air. The silence hummed in my ears, a quiet that felt like power. 3 calls later, the brunch was gutted, the bar dry, the music silenced. Let them feel the absence. Let them wonder why. That night, I lay in my motel room off Highway 31, still in my dress, the ceiling fan clicking above me like a countdown. The smell of fried catfish clung to my hair, mixed with the faint rose of my perfume. My feet throbbed, swollen from hours in heels I'd worn to look presentable, even in exile. The motel bed was stiff, the comforter scratchy, and I stared at the water-stained ceiling, half hoping the fan would crash down and end the ache in my chest. My phone buzzed. Text from Caleb, Lauren, my cousin Tammy. What's going on? The brunch is canceled? I ignored them, opened my budgeting app instead. Every expense glared back. $2,000 for the cake, $1,500 for the photographer, $400 for Lauren's something blue garter. Then I saw it, two charges I hadn't approved. A $600 bar tab from her bachelorette party at a Nashville honky-tonk, a $900 spa day for her bridesmaids at a Huntsville resort. No one asked. No one told me. And in a Venmo note to her maid of honor, Lauren wrote, "Lynn's got it covered. Go big or go home." I didn't cry. I felt hollow, like a cotton field after a frost. Everything stripped bare. I washed my face, the motel's cheap soap stinging my eyes. My reflection startled me. Mascara smudged, the soft lines of my mouth hardened, my hair flat from the humidity. I looked like I'd aged a decade in one night. By dawn, I'd emailed the vendors, cancel the brunch flowers, withhold the band's final payment, shut down the bar early. Polite, professional, final. The sky turned from charcoal to peach, and for the first time in years, I felt like Lynn again. Not Caleb's mom, not the ATM, just me. Monday morning, I brewed Folgers in my kitchen, the air heavy with jasmine from the vines outside. I sat on my porch, the wicker chair creaking, and replayed Caleb's last voicemail. "You embarrassed us, Mom. You crossed a line." I didn't flinch. You can give someone your everything, your time, your money, your heart, and still be tossed aside for not fitting the aesthetic. I deleted his contact, kept the number. I didn't need to erase him. I just didn't want his name glowing on my screen like it still owned me. At the Piggly Wiggly, I ran into Tammy, her cart full of canned peaches and biscuit mix. She hesitated, then hugged me, her perfume sharp with vanilla. "Were you okay with me sitting back there?" I asked, my voice low. She flushed, her eyes dropping to the floor. "I didn't know it was on purpose. I thought—" "I'm sorry, Lynn." I nodded. "Thank you." It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a start. That night I found a bouquet of daisies on my porch, half wilted, no card. I tossed them in the compost, their petals curling like apologies too late to matter. The truth came in a battered shoebox under my bed, tucked beneath old tax forms and a stack of Caleb's report cards. It wasn't a red folder, but a single letter, yellowed at the edges, postmarked a month before my ex-husband, Ray, died in a car wreck on a 65. His scrawl was shaky, the ink faded. "Lynn, I lied about Caleb. He's not mine. His mom was a girl I met in Mobile, too young to keep him. She left him with me, and I couldn't give him up. I told you he was ours. You loved him anyway. You're the only mother he's ever had." I sat on the floor, the letter trembling in my hands, the room tilting for a moment before settling. Caleb wasn't mine, not by blood, not by law. I'd raised a stranger's child, loved him through every fever, every heartbreak, every triumph. I'd stayed up nights sewing his Batman costume, driven him to chess club in a car with a busted heater, worked doubles to buy him cleats. And he'd let Lauren banish me to the kitchen, let her mother claim him, let them erase me. The pain wasn't in the lie. It was in the truth. I'd given him everything, and he hadn't cared enough to save me a seat. I didn't cry. I made coffee, sat by the window, and watched the sprinklers arc across the neighbor's lawn, their rhythm steady, mindless. I canceled the vendors again, my voice firm. No flowers, no band, no bar. Caleb's texts piled up. "Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't know it'd hurt you. Lauren, you're ruining our moment. Diane, this is unacceptable, Lynn. People are talking. I didn't reply. I cleaned the house, fed the cat, and posted the check photo again on Facebook. My signature clear, no caption. Comments flooded in. Neighbors, old coworkers, strangers. You don't deserve this, Lynn. You're enough. One stuck out, from a nurse I'd worked with years ago. Thank you for showing us we don't have to stay quiet. The dinner was my rebellion, my reclamation. I invited people who saw me, Miss Ruby from the salon, who'd snuck me iced tea during chemo, Mr. Carter, who mowed my lawn when I broke my ankle, Tanya from the library, who saved me every new mystery novel, and June, my old ER partner, who'd stayed late on her birthday to cover my shift. No blood ties, just loyalty, the kind that doesn't need a contract. I cooked smothered pork chops, cornbread, peach cobbler, green beans simmered with bacon. I bought a new tablecloth, green with dogwood flowers, and set the table with my mama's old china, chipped but beautiful. The house smelled like butter, warmth, home. They arrived with wine, stories, and hugs that lingered. Miss Ruby brought a bottle of Merlot, her laugh filling the room. Mr. Carter told a story about locking himself out in his boxers, and Tanya admitted to borrowing pens from the bank out of spite. We ate at the table where I'd once helped Caleb with algebra, now alive with clinking forks, passing plates, and laughter that felt like sunlight. June raised a glass. To Lynn, who built a life bigger than anyone's betrayal. I stood, my voice clear, my hands steady. To the women who gave everything and were told it wasn't enough. To the mothers who sat in the shadows after building the damn house. May we never sit down again unless it's at the head of our own table. Glasses clinked, someone cheered, and I sat, not in the back, not out of sight, but in my chair, my place, seen, whole, enough. Caleb came a week later, his F-150 idling in my driveway, dust settling around the tires. He looked tired, his Braves cap pulled low, dark circles under his eyes. I didn't mean to hurt you, Mom, he said, standing in my living room, the empty mantle glaring back where his graduation photos used to sit. I handed him the shoebox, every receipt, Ray's letter. You let them erase me, Caleb. You chose silence. He read the letter, his face crumpling, his voice cracking. I didn't know. You didn't think, I said, my voice calm but sharp. I raised you. I gave you everything, and you let them push me into the kitchen. You watched them humiliate me, and you said nothing. He looked at the floor, his jaw tight. I'm sorry, he whispered, barely audible. I picked up the box, closed the lid, handed it to him. These are yours now. Every receipt, every record, every reminder of what you overlooked. He hesitated, then took it, his eyes searching for a crack, a softness, a sign the door might open again. It wouldn't. You always said I was your whole world, he said, his voice small. You were, I replied. Now I'm mine. I walked him to the door, closed it softly, the click final, like a lock turning. The next night my table was full again. Ruby, Carter, Tanya, June, new laughter, new stories. I lit a candle, played Ella Fitzgerald, and ate cobbler straight from the pan, the peaches sweet and warm. My roses bloomed outside, wild and bright, their petals catching the moonlight. I wasn't Caleb's mother anymore, not in the way I'd been. I was Lynn, woman, survivor, main character. I'd spent 30 years as someone's backdrop, pouring my life into a boy who didn't turn around to see me. Now I was the story, the center, the one who chose, who sat at my table. The morning after, I woke to birdsong, sunlight spilling through my window. No tightness in my chest, no regrets. I made coffee, sat on the porch, my robe fluttering in the breeze. The neighbor's sprinklers ticked across the lawn, and I smiled, not because I'd won, but because I'd chosen myself. I didn't need Caleb's apologies, didn't need Lauren's explanations, didn't need Diane's approval. I had my people, my home, my life. I was enough. Weeks later, I started small, joined a book club at the library, took a pottery class at the community center, bought a new dress just because it made me feel like spring. I cook for myself, not out of duty, but joy. Shrimp etouffee, blueberry pie, dishes I'd never made because Caleb didn't like them. I hung new photos on the mantle, me with Ruby at the county fair, Tanya and me laughing over coffee, a selfie from the pottery class with clay smudged on my cheek. My house wasn't a museum of sacrifices anymore. It was a canvas, and I was painting it with my own colors. One evening, as I watered my roses, Mr. Carter waved from his porch. "Looking good, Lynn," he called. I laughed, waving back. "Feeling good, too." And I meant it. The ache was still there, a faint scar under the surface. But it didn't define me. I'd built a family not with blood, but with choice. People who saw me, who stayed, who filled my table with love. Caleb hadn't called again, and I didn't wait for him to. I didn't need his permission to be whole. This is for the women who gave everything and were handed a folding chair in the back. For the mothers who built castles and were told to stay in the kitchen. For the ones who loved so fiercely they forgot their own names. Your story isn't over. Your table is waiting. Take your seat. Share your story below. Where are you reading from? Your voice matters.